Hey, you guys. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another episode of this Piscean Reports. How are you guys doing tonight? Hopefully, as always, you guys are having a beautiful evening. For those of you new to my channel, welcome aboard. For those of you who are returning, welcome back, you guys. Welcome back. I am so excited to bring you guys today's message. And it literally took me the last few days because I had the initial thought of it, but I'm like, no, I was missing. It was missing a few things, and it came to me today, and I'm so excited. I'm so happy to bring it to you guys, and I want to thank my spirit team and my guides for allowing me to bring this to you guys, and I hope you like it. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about a subject that really, truly, it is time to address. It is time to address it. However you want to say it. We need to talk, okay? So today's subject is going to be on the tribal mentality. The tribal mentality. Let's see. Is there a way I could, in a nutshell, I'll just say it in a nutshell. I could probably pause and go get the phone and then read you the, official term for it. But there's a specific segment of tribal mentality that I want to touch on today. And this part of it is that us versus them mentality. Now, let me start by saying this, you guys. Some parts of this may be uncomfortable for some of you guys, but I want to make sure, I want to say this up front. Anything I'm getting ready to say to you guys is not said to be negative. It's just more, this is a fact. Like, this is what it is, and I feel if we just go ahead and just talk about it. It's time to really talk about it. These are the things I feel like we don't discuss in society. And this, I'm like, yeah, it's time to talk. Okay. So like I said, I wanted to talk to you guys about tribal mentality. Okay. One of the things, and I feel like the tribal mentality is borderline evil. To an extent, borderline evil, okay? Because the tribal mentality can be used. I'm not going to say it can be used. It is used today and has been used throughout history in an ugly way. Okay. And that is what I wanted to discuss, but I am leading up to something. So you guys just work with it. Okay. Just stay with me. Okay. We're going to get to, there's an ultimate thing here. Okay. Now, I wanted to go a little more in depth when you say, well, what do you mean by tribal mentality? That whole us versus them mentality that we have, and it's a global mentality, and it has existed since the beginning of time. I wrote down some specific times throughout history as an example of how how the tribal mentality is abused. Okay. Now, I will start with, because I had to number these, and then we'll put that as 4. Okay, so let's start with the time of the Egyptian and Hebrew time back in, biblical times and Moses, particularly in the time of Moses. Okay. I want to say this. One of the parts that I hate most about the tribal mentality is that it it is used to take away another person's humanity, you know. And when you take away their another human being's humanity, it makes it that much easier for you to do. It makes it that much easier for you to hurt another soul. It makes it that much easier for you to hurt another human being. And I thought back to several times throughout history, classic examples of how the tribal mentality has been used, and I'm gonna bring it up to today. Okay, we could start with, like I said, we could start with the Egyptian times, with the where the Egyptian culture overtook the Hebrews. All right, and they once you, like I said, once you take away a culture's humanity, it makes it that much easier for you to just unleash just untold evil. And we see that. I was thinking as I was working, I thought about the movie The Ten Commandments. And you guys, you see it, you know, they often comment on how they were used, they were considered beasts of burden, right? They were whipped and you know, just tortured, you know. There, and I think back to, there's one particular clip in the Ten Commandments where Nefertiti kills what's her name? What is her name? She's her person. Her she was like supposed to she was her slave, her head slave. What is her name? Memnet. And Memnet goes to her and she tells her, listen, you know, Moses is a Hebrew slave. And she tells her, you're gonna keep your mouth shut. And she was like, she was gonna do it anyway. She was gonna talk. So she ultimately ends up killing her, right? And it gets to the point where Moses comes to see Nefertiti, and you know, there's a slave that knocks at the door and tries to let her know that Memnet is dead. And she said, go away. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And then Moses says, Memnet was a a faithful slave to you, a faithful servant. And then she said, whatever, 1,000 slaves die every day. What's it to us? That is that level. That is a perfect example of someone's humanity being taken away from him, to the point to where it meant nothing to her to take this woman's life. And all of the Egyptians where they would murder all the firstborn Hebrew man child shall die. How do you do that? How do you take away a culture's humanity? Because that's what I mean. That's that tribal mentality. All it takes is for one leader to say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to remove we're going to dub these people as less than, as inferior, and they are going to be reduced to cattle and animals and slaves, just to be used for our bidding and whatever. If they die, who cares? You see what I'm saying? So there was that example, and he was like, oh my God, like, what kind of woman holds me captive, to be so, lax about that, right? And then I thought back, I started to think, and this is where you guys are going to get a little uncomfortable, but like I said, you're just going to have to stay with me, okay? I thought to the time where the British people landed in America. And and you literally see it, and pick any Western. This is such a classic example. In the beginning, when the British landed in America, or we call it America. Anyway, when we landed here, okay, and they started to interact, they seen the natives and they started to interact with them. At first, they saw them as human. It's all good. We're gonna, and the Americans, or the British, or soon to be America, or Americans, however you say it, at this point, they end up, saying this is going to be America and da 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 da. But it comes to that point where they start to move out west, and they need more land, right? And so they're coming and they're encountering Native Americans, and they're going to the Native Americans, and the British or now American soldiers are saying, we need you, somebody to go and speak to the chiefs in these cultures and say, this is what we're wanting to do. We need your land. We're getting ready to do this thing. And the Native Americans were like, no, no, this is our land, and no, we're not interested in that. And so they would go back, and then they would say, and the soldiers would say, go talk to them again, tell them once again that this is what we want to do, and try to make them understand. And they would go back again, and they would talk to them again and say, this is what we're wanting to do. And the Native Americans would once again say, no, this is our land. No, no, we're not with that. Bottom line, we're not interested. We're not with it. And so they would go back, and at that point, they would say, listen, we're not asking anymore. We're not, at this point, they're still human. We haven't taken away their humanity at this point. And now they're saying, you know what, you go and tell them that this is what we're doing. Okay. And then when they go, and then the Native Americans are saying, no, this is not going to happen, and we are willing to stand up and fight for our land. They went from being human beings to now being bloodthirsty savages. You see what I mean? Now our leaders have taken away their humanity, because they're all they're doing is essentially standing up for theirs. This is my land. No, you can't do this. No, we don't want this. Oh, we're gonna do this. And you all know what happens. Fast forward, we all know everything that happened after that. But in order to justify the taking of all these Native Americans' lives, they went from becoming human beings to bloodthirsty savages. Okay, that's that tribal mentality of us versus them. It's either them or us, and now they're being reduced from being human beings to being nothing more than bloodthirsty savages, which is going to make it that much easier to now do what we need to do. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Now, we are going to go a little further into American, and not even American history. We're going to go a little further into history at the time of Hitler. Okay, this is someone who used that tribal mentality once again of us versus them. He was able to convince Germans that we're the superior race. And I wrote this down because I had to look it up. I said, what was Hitler's views of the Jews? How did he view them? And it said that he viewed the Jews as parasites and vermin. They're not human anymore. They're parasites. They're vermin. Okay, we've taken away their humanity. And once you take once again, in the tribal mentality of us versus them, once the humanity has been removed, it makes it that much easier to do the unthinkable. Okay, we see that. And then I went to, and this is what I found particularly interesting. I fast forwarded once again. Now we are in the 80s, and I find this one particularly interesting. In the 80s, Americans viewed Russians. It says that because I had to write that down. I read it and I wrote it down, and it said that Russians were viewed with fear and deep suspicion and hostility. Ronald Reagan himself characterized them as the evil empire. All of Russia is the evil empire, right? Which is insane. It's insane. They went from, they're not human anymore. They're these evil people who are going to destroy the world. And we were once again at a point where we were at a point of nuclear war, and there was a lot of fear and all of that, and it said that in 1983, that was a view that was reflected widely in America, that they viewed the Soviet Union as a focus of evil and a major threat. You see what I'm saying? Now, Tribal mentality. Our leader says they're the bad guy. They're the evil ones. We need to, get these people in check and all this other kind of stuff, to the point where we damn near were at the brink of war. Tribal mentality. Once again, the us versus them mentality is on the brink of threatening to destroy the world. Quite literally, with a world war, with a nuclear war anyway. Right? And fast forward to today. These same people that we once viewed as the evil empire, our leader today thinks the Russians are the greatest thing since sliced bread. So what happened? What happened? How did they go from being this insidious evil and this, this threat to the world, to being, these are great people? Tribal mentality. We need, if we are going to evolve as a world, as a society, as people, as human beings, I want to suggest that we get rid of tribal mentality. I read about it in that book that I have been telling you guys about the greater community spirituality. There's an opportunity. There is going to be a point where we are one world. We literally have the ability to be one world, but it takes getting rid of tribal mentality. Because tribal mentality is an insidious evil. It's that evil. And I had to look up, what's the definition of insidious? It's something that is harmful over a period of time. Okay? And that is the truth. All right. I have been telling you guys that we are right there. We are quite literally we're there. We're not at the brink. We are there. We are at that point now where we all see each other, and we have the opportunity to turn this whole thing around. But it takes, first and foremost, getting rid of the tribal mentality of us versus them. Because at the end of the day, I don't see Russians as one thing. Nobody is one thing. I was looking at an episode of Locked Up Abroad, and there was this American who was locked up over in Russia, and he fell in love with this Russian nurse. She was in the jail, and she told him where she lived, and she drew like a little map, and they were digging each other. She said, one day maybe we can, if you ever get free, we can be together, like that. Well, he ends up escaping out of the Russian jail. It was brilliant how he did it. It was crazy. It was insane. But he made it over. He remembered the directions that the girl gave him, and he made his way to her house. And at first she was upset and everything. Long story short, she ended up helping him, and she tells him, she said that there's a man that's going to come here and help get you home, because all he wanted to do was just go back home. Because if he stayed, clearly he's going to go back to jail. So this man comes in, and he says to the woman, how do I know I can trust him? And she said that he's part of a group of Russians who agree with Americans, who don't view the Americans as the enemy, and that is very telling. That is telling. Not everybody in Russia is evil. They never were. But in the 80s, if you ask Ronald Reagan, they were, right? It's insane. It's ridiculous. It's like when Hitler turned around and tried to break down the Jewish people as being nothing more than parasites and vermin. And if we get rid of the parasites and the vermin, the world will be a perfect place. And he was able to, through tribal mentality, that us versus them, to beat that in them, to convince them, to swell their head, essentially. Okay, that they're evil and they must be destroyed. And they was actually able to get these people to just systematically start killing human beings, removing their humanity. And now they're nothing more than parasites and vermin, and you gotta go. And I'm gonna tell you this, here we go. We're gonna get a little uncomfortable again. Okay, I want to sit up here and offer up this as well. Trump. I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Ooh, now you're crossing." No, no, no. We gonna go there. We get ready to go there because here's the bottom line: President Trump got to be president not because he was brilliant or because he had great ideas. This man was, bottom line, he was made president because he said, I'm going to build a wall and I'm going to keep those people out. I'm going to build this big, beautiful wall, and it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be that. And not one person said to him, how are you going to do that? Where's the money going to come from? There's been so many leaders before you that recognized we had a border problem, but they didn't do anything. What makes you think you could do it? Where's the money going to come from? How is this going to, is there some secret, account of funds somewhere in America that they're going to use? And how is this going to be done? And how soon will it be done? Will it be done by the end of your administration? When are you going to begin? Nobody asked simple, tough questions that needed to be answered and should be answered. He was able to get people to, he rallied. This is that tribal mentality of us versus them. We're going to build a wall and we're going to keep those people out because they're the enemy and they're ruining our nation and this is this and that, and won on that. Tribal mentality. If we are going to go forward as a world, we need to get rid of the tribal mentality. Stop seeing each other as the enemy. Because at the end of the day, like I said, we all want the same things. We all want the same things. Think about this. When those Mexican people who are crossing the border, they are not coming over here because they think America's the greatest thing ever. Mexico is a beautiful country and it's got beautiful people. Nobody wants to actively leave their country. If they leave their country, they're leaving their country due to famine or, war or, something uncomfortable to make you want to leave. Because trust and believe, I heard a young lady who was Latino say in a video, I'm not here because my people didn't come here because we thought America was all of that. We're here because we don't have a choice. We're trying to get away from something that's happening over there. We want to try to have a better life. You know what I'm saying? But everybody loves their country. The Jews they didn't just say, wake up one day and say, boy, I sure would love to go to America. They had no other choice. You know what I mean? In any other war-torn country, people who were in Poland when they're warring and when Hitler was invading Poland and Czechoslovakia and all of these, like, really think about that. Nobody actively wants to leave their homeland. Not really. You're forced to. You know what I mean? Because of something, some evil, something wrong. Somebody's fighting or there's something. You know what I mean? And if we eliminated the tribal mentality and just saw each other as human beings, we all want the same things. Imagine a world where we actually helped each other. I tell you guys all the time, I think about how we could help. I think I even made mention of it about how once upon a time China, I sure didn't. I was talking to my friend how China, used to be this very sweet, very, quiet people. They had a way of life and an existence, and they began to, mix and mingle with Americans, and the American people were willing to, show them a little of their technology, just a little, just a little something, because, and this is the other thing that I don't like about the tribal mentality, because we are quite literally intelligent enough, and if we really wanted to, if we searched our hearts, every last one of us could share our knowledge with one another. But we don't want to do that because one wants to be greater than the other country. You know, we want to be the first ones on the moon. We want to beat the Russians. We want to do this. We want to do that. You know, I want to be the first. We want to be number one. We want to have the most technology. And at the end of the day, at any time, we could open our hearts and say, let's help each other. Because if everybody is helped, we're now all on an even playing field. And there's a lot of ego out there, the tribal mentality. We want to be number one. We want to be the best. If we let go of the tribal mentality, we're just people. We're just human beings living our best lives, you know, living in our own countries. We got it now. We know, you know, thanks to America, they showed us, you know, how to make this medicine or build this hospital and, you know, where we could take care of our own. So we don't have to, you know, depend on other people, groups, special groups to come and fly into the country and inoculate our children and things like that. Imagine a world where we just said, you know what, we're going to help you guys. We're going to bring you guys up to speed. We're going to help you, you know, and North Korea or South Korea, you know what, we're going to let go of the us versus them. And we're just all recognizing at the end of the day, we're all Koreans. We're all just people, you know. Russians are just people. If they said we're going to go over and help Africa and we're going to go over and help and then we're going to go down to Mexico. Imagine a world where we had leaders who got together and said in any country where there is a leader who does not want to let go of the tribal mentality and they say, okay, we're all going to get together, you know, Russia, America, China, we're going to get together. We're going to go down there. We're going to straighten that ish out. Okay. And restore, you know, a decent government system so that these people don't have to run to the border. Like I said, if they have a beautiful country, it's a beautiful people, they have a beautiful world and a life, and the potential is there, but they need help. Imagine letting go of the tribal mentality and just saying we're all just one people. And we can actually have a government system where we all benefit from each other, where nobody is more better or more worse than the next person. If we all help each other. You see what I mean? Tribal mentality's got to go. Tribal mentality is borderline devil energy, is dark. It's used that way anyway. You know, that us versus them has to go. If we are going to be one world, one people. This is the other thing that I wanted to say to you guys. I told you that we have this, we're not here for us. We didn't incarnate into this lifetime for us. We incarnated into this lifetime to help generations down the road. Okay, so imagine if I've always heard about those who participated in World War II. They refer to that generation as the greatest generation, you know, because they rose up. Everybody all over the world rose up and they said, we got to stop this. This is, you know, because this person has lost their mind. They are over the edge, okay? And something's got to be done. And everybody rose up together and they did the right thing. They did what needed to be done. I saw in a movie when they were talking, what was that show? I saw it on Nat Geo, and they were talking about how, you know, people just assumed that it was just Americans and maybe the French and a few European countries that kind of rose up. But I found out, and I didn't know this, you know, they were talking about, they were talking about the Tuskegee Airmen, and they made mention that I did not know this, that there were Indians, and I mean East Indian soldiers who participated in the war effort. And I was shocked. I was surprised. I said, get out of here. Everybody took place, had a part to play in restoring right in the world. Do you see what I mean? So our children, our grandchildren are depending on us to let go of the tribal mentality and say, we can do this. We can do this. We can come together and do this. It's going to take everybody, though, waking up and saying, listen, this is, you know what, you're absolutely right. And you know, in America, the next time we have a president or we do that, ask those tough questions. You know exactly what you want. I want someone who is about peace, not someone who's going to rise up and say, we're going to keep them out and they're going to keep those away and they're the enemy and there is this. And the first time they open their mouth, say, you can have a seat. You can have a seat. Because what we're looking for, we are getting ready to change this world. It is up to us. We are at the precipice. We are there. Like I said, we see each other right now. We all see each other, right? We all recognize we're all human beings. We recognize that we all want the same things. So just imagine if we just say, this is it. This is, you know, our grandchildren are depending on us. It's like we are the quarterback. And we are calling the plays right now. And the play that we call today is going to be that thing that, you know, we're that quarterback and we're going to make that play and we're going to do our thing. And then we're going to throw the ball and our children and our grandchildren are going to take the ball and they going to run with it. You see what I mean? Like this. Oh my God. Oh my God. The potential that we have as a world, if we let go of the tribal mentality. Imagine what we can do if we let go. And anybody that that is against, you know, letting go and seeing us as one world, then we need to help them, you know, help that country. I'm sure a lot of people, everybody all over the world, all just wants peace. We all just want peace. Don't nobody want a war. Don't nobody want to fight. How great would it be if we did do that? If we rose up everything in our spirit, if we started tuning into the energy and the vibration of love. We're going to do this for this country because we love them. We're going to help them. We're going to even the playing field so that nobody needs to leave their country. Nobody needs to run. Nobody needs to escape because it's all good in your corner of the world. You see what I'm saying? Like it's unbelievable. The potential that we can have as a people, as a world, as a global society, if we let go of the tribal mentality. We see what the tribal mentality has gotten us up to this point throughout history. It's gotten us nowhere. And on some levels, a lot of you guys literally think that we're just like, oh, this is it, and we're gonna go. What if you just turn that thought around? What if you stopped worrying about what could go wrong and we started saying, let's do the right thing. Let's start making things right. Just imagine what we could do to this world. And like I said, we're not living for us. Our grandchildren are depending on us to do the right thing right now. And it starts with letting go. It starts with letting go of the tribal mentality. It's time to let go of us versus them. Us versus them is getting us nowhere. It's getting us nowhere. You know, it's building hostility and resentment, and you know, we don't like them and they don't like us, and it's this and it's that. If you let that go, I've been saying from the very beginning, when I first started my channel, it takes letting go. Let go. Let go of what you was taught. Let go of what you was raised. And if you say to yourself, well, we can't do that. Not too long ago in America, nobody could wrap their head around the thought that we would all be able to go to restaurants and sit together and eat, and that we could go to school together and learn, and that we could drink from the same fountain, and that we could mix and meet and marry and happily marry each other. When, they couldn't have even imagined it, but yet here we are. Here we are. So anybody who wants to open their mouth and say, well, that can't be done, that can't be, yes, it can. Yes, it absolutely can. You just don't want it. And like I told you guys, a lot of leaders will probably, there's, I read that in the book as well. There's going to be some pushback because the leaders want it this way. They need it this way. For them, it's an ego thing. We want to be the best. We are the greatest over here. You guys are nothing over there. We want to, you know what I mean? It's ego. It's time to let go of ego. It's time to let go of the tribal mentality. And we all just wake up one day and say that we're just us. We're just one world. And there's this song by Cameo, The Skin I'm In. And at the end, there's or at a key point in the song, they say one world, one love, one people. One world, one love, one people. One world, one love, one people. And then it breaks out into this amazing, but anyway, we can have that. We absolutely can have that. Our children, our grandchildren, generations are depending on us to do the right thing right now. Like, think about that. Really think about that. These are the things we don't talk about, because we're used to the tribal mentality. We're used to it. Let it go. Let it go. If we could let go of the things I mentioned that they used to do that we no longer do. We once saw the Russians as evil. We don't anymore. We think they're the greatest thing ever. If we can do that, we can do the other stuff. It just takes letting go. Those Russians were never evil. But in the 80s, the Reagan administration sure as hell made it look that way. These are all human beings. Those Jewish people were all human beings. Those Hebrew people were all human beings. Those Native Americans were human beings. We're all human beings. We're just people. We all want the same thing. And it just takes letting go of the tribal mentality, and let's start making a difference. Let's start making a difference. Like I said, we got generations that are dependent on us to start right now, and we right there. We see each other every day on YouTube. We see each other in the news. We see each other. So let's think about that. Like, really think about that. Okay? Ooh, did you hear that? See? There you go. That's that confirmation. That's confirmation. So anyway, that is the message that I had for you guys. And I just needed a few minutes. I needed a few days. I said, there's a way I want to say this. So but I need a minute. Let me make it just right. And then I'm going to give it to you guys. And I hope you liked it. Okay. If you did, do me a favor and hit the like button and subscribe, because nothing will make me happier than let you guys know it's time. It is past time. If we're really honest, historically, it's past time. We're not savages anymore. We're not, there's no point and no need. There's no benefit in trying to be better than someone else. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings and we all just want the same things. If you don't want anybody crossing your border, why don't you try helping? Why don't we all get together and try to help the others? Then maybe they say, okay, we're good. We're going to stay over here. You guys stay over there and have a great day. And then after that, we could just get to that point once again where we say, you know what? I think I'll just go and visit. I'm going to go visit there. I'm going to go visit Egypt. I want to go visit the motherland, the birth, the land of Jesus and Mother Mary and be able to do it without fear of being attacked or kidnapped and, all these things. We can see each other. Hey, how are you? You have a beautiful country. Thank you. You guys should come to our country sometime. We'd love, we've got some pretty nice things to see over there as well. Thank you. We'll do that. That can happen. That can happen. Okay, I'm gonna go. I will see you guys next time on the next video. You have a great evening. I will see you guys later. All right, y'all have a good night. All right, bye bye.